Hello, hello. Welcome back to Sports Circle in Focus. In a first for our channel today, we have an Indian snooker great with us, Mr. Aditya Mehta. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time and welcome to the channel.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for having me.
Um, a lot of curiosity, a lot of things to learn from your journey at this point, and I want to take you back to the very beginning first. And I just want to ask, what is your earliest memory with snooker?
My dad used to play at the local club since we were very young. So our interaction with snooker has been from an extremely young age, probably even at the age of 5 or 6, where I would have gone to the club with him during a tournament that he was playing, let's say
Okay.
in the club, the club events and things like that. I don't exactly remember a lot about snooker at that time. I mean, I remember from the
Mm,
time when I started, which was at the age of 12, and he decided to, take me and coach me. My dad was my first coach. So at the age of 12, when I was tall enough, I think that's what he was waiting for, that I was just tall enough to reach the table. And the club had to grant us special permission because under 18s were not allowed at that time. So, after all
okay.
that, finally getting in, and I saw some of the videos from that time, which my dad used to take. He's very fond of collecting pictures and videos, and one of those old style videos and of me as a kid.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think it's just that it was a very small club, which has now grown quite big. A single table setup, and very unique sport as compared to everything else that I've played and
absolutely.
been a part of, like cricket, football, golf, badminton. I've tried my hand at everything at a good level. So yeah, it was.
Okay.
I think thinking back now, I feel like it was a sport that fit my personality really well. It was probably the only sport that fit my personality well, which was like extremely shy and quiet. And
Okay.
being in that room on my own for 6 to 8 hours a day, I think it kind of worked in my favor, as opposed to what people might consider that they got very dull, or you know they had no entertainment. For me, that was exactly the right, exactly what I needed.
Fair. So, like you said, looking back in the hindsight, you feel that this was a perfect fit for you. But at that time, what made you gravitate towards this sport? Like you said, you've played a lot of things. You were playing a lot of other sports as well while
Mm.
you were playing snooker growing up.
Mm.
What made you gravitate towards this a little more?
Uh, the same thing. I think football and cricket was my first. Football actually was my first sport, and I started playing that at the age of 6 or 7 because I was in Don Bosco in Bombay, which is famous for football. And I was in the first team till I was 12, 13. And then obviously we saw that, okay, is there a future in this game? And my dad said that we shifted to cricket, and
Okay.
I wasn't bad, but I wasn't great either. So again, this was all like a trial and error for my dad as well, trying to live out his dream of becoming a sports person and making me do it. So he made me try every
Okay.
sport. At the age of 12, I started golf and snooker together. And
Okay.
to be honest, I think I was more, addicted to golf as such, because I just love that sport. Like I really do love golf. Even today, it's one of my favorite sports. And
Okay.
if you see, there are a lot of similarities between the two, golf and snooker. The only thing being, okay, it's indoor and outdoors, and it's like the dead ball sport, and also the fact that
Hmm.
it's long. There's a lot of silence. There's a lot of introspection. There's a lot of thinking that goes on behind every shot. As
True.
opposed to
True.
more fast action, badminton, table tennis, things like that, where it's split second stuff. I think for me, for
Yeah.
my personality, or maybe my brain is a little slower than the others, but I felt like I liked that part of sport where it was a very well thought out decision behind
Okay.
everything, and that's the kind of sort of the kind of player I am in snooker as well. And it can slow me down sometimes because
Hmm.
of that idea of, like, thinking through things. But I think that's
Yeah.
probably the main thing behind. So the two of them were my favorites, golf and snooker. And golf, at the age of 15, I was playing a tournament at the same time in golf in my club in Bombay, and in snooker
Okay.
at another club which was all like Maharashtra state level, city level tournament. And I won
Okay.
that snooker tournament at the age of 15, and it was like a open tournament, so all ages, everything, but a handicap in the sense you get a certain point handicap for based on your level. So
Yeah.
I went and won that tournament, and in the golf one, I had a very I lost, but I had a very heartbreaking loss there. So like a part of me as a child would obviously gravitate towards what you feel you're better at, like you what you feel
Yeah.
that that willing feeling is very addictive, and snooker gave
Yeah.
that to me first. So there was no
Yeah.
confusion at that point, and it was already quite obvious that I was good for my age for 15. I had developed quite well because of my dad, the way he supported me, the way he found coaches for me. Every year I would progress to a different coach who is a slightly higher level. And by the time I
Yeah.
was 16, I was already going abroad for coaching. So, without family support, without a parent, giving you that backing, the financial backing and the emotional backing, none of this would have happened. Any sport, it wouldn't matter.
True. True. Absolutely. Absolutely. And snooker being a sport that, like, even today, I don't think it is as widespread as it probably should be and could be, in fact. And I'm sure at that time it was a bit more of a struggle, so to speak, not just mentally and support wise, but also financially, I'm sure, because it is not exactly a non-expensive sport. It takes a lot.
It's a misconception, to be honest, that it's an expensive sport because it's not. I mean, ideally, if you
Okay.
compare it to even tennis or badminton or
Yeah, yeah.
golf, especially, it wouldn't, because the equipment cost is
True.
as good as zero in our sport. Like you buy one cue, you can play with it
Yeah.
for 10 years. And you literally all you need to change is the leather at the top, which is very inexpensive, and I'd say the biggest challenge is access. So the access to
Mm.
facilities is a challenge in terms of numbers. In terms of cost, it's still not that big an issue as compared to other sports. And I think part of the reason why a lot of people don't play it, maybe, or don't even consider it, because they think it looks like an expensive sport, but it's not. It's not an expensive sport. It's
Yeah.
just there's two ththings. One is access, and the other is not as rewarding financially as maybe some of
Yeah.
the other things. And at least it's not yet. But if you look at the global growth of the sport over the last decade, since, I mean, 2 decades. 2008 was when I turned pro, and at that time we were not even at a quarter of the prize money that the global tour has as of today. Not even quarter means it wasn't
Mm.
even 20%. So in the
Okay.
last 10 years, 15 years, the international game has grown leaps and bounds on the professional tour,
Okay.
but we are lacking behind because we do not have the infrastructure and the mentality to uh, to be able to kind of take advantage of that, what is going on at a global stage. I don't think we
Mm.
yet have the infrastructure, the support and the backing that is required for any sports person in any sport to
Yeah.
be able to make a sustained effort towards that, because it's not going to happen by one person going, two people going, right? It has to be again and
True.
again.
True.
It's like how the Chinese do it. You send 100 and
Yeah.
10 will stick, or maybe five will stick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately, we don't have the numbers game yet. That's where we are lacking. We have the players, but we don't have the numbers yet, and that's what we need to catch up.
I think as awareness increase, that will also change, I believe, a little bit, because
Uh,
at this point we are struggling a little bit for the awareness side of things as well. Because honestly, I'm sure you've seen this a lot more than I have, but in terms of snooker as a sport, a lot of times it gets taken not as seriously from what I have seen growing up in Delhi and parts of Delhi, where like it's more of a case of let's just go and play. चल ठीक है एक घंटा निकल जाएगा types.
yeah,
Once that seriousness kicks in as to okay, this can be a rewarding thing as well apart from just spending that 1 hour.
yeah. But I think that's the case with
Maybe
every sport. How many sports do you go out there and play, and you see everybody being serious? I mean, sport is meant for that leisure,
I know.
for a little bit of fun. Yes, I understand where you're
I'm
going
talking
at with
comparatively.
this, but yeah, I mean, I understand where you're going at. yes, the facilities, like how you would say your uh, the Padukone Academy or the Gopichand
Mm.
Academy in badminton and things like that. When places like that come up, so all your serious, all the people who want to take this up as a serious level will gravitate towards those things. And the rest of the country, obviously, academies will come up slowly and steadily in other places as well. But mostly, people like to have fun. Like they want to go out there, they want to enjoy their
Yeah,
sport. And snooker, what I've found is people really do, are they get very attached to this game. I think all of us have. It's the reason why we can never let go almost. And I think it's a part of maybe, because it's not that much of a physical sport, even as you age, it's not something that you need to give up. And people seem to hang in there a lot longer with this sport and maybe golf as well than they would
yeah,
with the rest of them. So it is a very addictive sport that way. Yes, I mean you're bang on there. There's no serious facility for our sport, and that's why maybe we don't see like a direction. Maybe when you're a kid or you're slightly getting better or you feel like you have a chance, what
exactly,
do? The first thing you
exactly,
find out
exactly,
is where are all the top players going, where are the best coaches,
exactly,
right? And that's a
exactly,
structure that is
exactly,
not existent. It's non-existent in this country yet, unfortunately.
exactly.
Yes.
The path is not as well
Hmm.
illuminated, probably, if I'm not wrong.
Exactly. I
Like,
think that is the precise position that we're in today. Is the path is there somewhere,
mm,
but it's not
yeah,
known clearly to people. If they did, they could make a plan. Uh, you know.
fair, fair. So, for you, like, okay, let's say, like, a lot of credit to your father as well, in terms of
Hmm.
training and in terms of guiding and all of that. But was there a specific moment that you remember in terms of, okay, snooker is what I will be doing for the rest of my professional life?
Um, Not really. I mean, I just knew at all times that snooker is what I want to do now, and
Hmm.
I want to survive as long as I can because in sport you just don't know where things are going to
Yeah,
lead. The only thing I knew was that I don't want to just make up the numbers, so I was always looking at can I push myself further, 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 and if I can't, then I'll leave it because I don't want to be at just just one level and be happy with it. So that there was a constant effort from my part that can I push a little further? And obviously, the ultimate goal was to turn professional, play in
yeah,
the tour where with the likes of Ronnie O'Sullivan and Judd Trump and John Higgins, and these are like the legends. And India has not really got a great history in terms of that. Only Yasin Merchant in the
yeah,
'90s was a professional for a stint, and he reached I think 65 in the world at the time, which was a very great achievement. But if you
yeah.
send one player a decade to a tour, you're really not going to make much of a dent, right? I mean, that this
True,
is where
true.
this is where we've lost out, and things are changing. The good thing is that things are changing. So that was my goal. That if I was at the national level, then obviously we were pushing to be at the top so that we can go to the Asian and the World Championships and the amateur circuit, and then progress from there on to the professional circuit. And that was a very clear cut plan. And I got there. At 2008 was my first time in the. I got to the finals of the nationals and subsequently went to the Asian Championship and got to the finals
Yeah.
there again and got my pro ticket, and that changed everything. So 2008 was the turning point, and funny enough, I actually quit the sport in 2007. So
I was just about to
2006.
ask that.
So 2006, when I won my Asian Games medal, and I thought,
Yeah,
life has changed. Bronze medal. It was a team event, but that's something new. It's great achievement, and I don't know, something didn't click after that. I think I went to the nationals and I didn't do well because I think there's just the pressure or whatever it was. I had a bad year, and I decided that I'm 20 now, and I don't see much. In fact, in 2006, I was also national champion, junior national champion, and I beat Pankaj in
yeah,
the finals. Pankaj Advani
yeah,
was unbeaten for like 5 years at the time, from 16 till
yeah,
20, and that was the last match of both of our junior careers, and I beat him in the
yeah.
final to win. But no, I mean, it wasn't enough. Like I said, I'm always thinking, can I do? I'm very harsh on myself. I'm like my greatest critic. So I was not happy with the way my career was progressing at the time, and I felt
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe I need to go back into the family business a little bit and maybe take my mind off things, because I was struggling mentally to cope with wins and losses. I'm very hard on myself, so I think I take the losses very hard, and then when I win,
Mm.
I just dismiss them, saying that, yeah, okay, fine, whatever, I won, and now next. But then if I
Yeah.
lose, I dwell on it for very long, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, anyways, 2007, I quit the game. I stayed out for a year, and I came. At the end of 2007, I came back and I thought, okay, you know what? I'll just play a little bit. I'll play the state championship, just for fun,
Okay.
and I ended up
Okay.
winning both snooker and billiards. So I mean, billiards is not even my sport generally, but I can play.
Yeah.
So I won both
Yeah.
both the state championships, and then went to the nationals and got to my first national championship final against Pankaj. Lost to him in the finals, obviously because of that, I got my Asian championship spot. Went to the Asian championship, got to the finals again, and
Yeah.
because of the final, I got my pro ticket. So in
Okay.
6 months of having quit the game, just come back into the game, I turned
Yeah.
pro, which was my lifelong, dream, to
Yeah.
turn pro. So it's weird how things kind of chopped and changed in that 1 year or 2 years. It was a very um, it was funny moments. Like 2006, you're on top of the world. 2007, you're at the bottom. 2008, again, you're on top, and then the bottoms will still come. So this was just a
Yeah.
short term high.
So I've had the very good fortune of having spoken to a fair few athletes, and one of them, Mr. Deepak Hooda, Indian Kabaddi
Yeah.
team captain, he said something to me, and that stuck with me for the last couple of years now. He said,
Mm.
"Life is not supposed to be a straight line; it has to be up and down, because a straight line means you're done, you're no more."
Yeah. No heartbeat. Correct.
Yeah. So he said it's supposed to be. It's supposed to go up. It's supposed to
Yeah.
go down, and it's supposed to follow that pattern. So,
Yeah.
like you've spoken about how in a span of maybe 2 years, you pretty much saw a lot of it.
Mm.
Dealing with the highs is one thing, and that also takes a lot of effort. Yes, but
Mm.
how was it for you individually in terms of coming back from the lows? Let's say you said ki 2007 was a time you weren't feeling that much up to it,
Mm.
and how, like, okay, you started with smaller steps, but what was the mentality behind let's just go once again?
Yeah, I mean, 2007 was a little different because I think I came back just without expecting anything. So it was a little, you know, it wasn't that difficult that time because
Mm.
you almost come back thinking that you have nothing to lose, and if I'm just playing to have fun, and if I win, then
Yeah.
great. And considering that I'm already national champion level at that time, so I'm not
Mm.
saying that it didn't mean anything. I'm just saying is that there was no additional pressure on, or I didn't put anything on myself at the time. But then life
Okay.
changed completely, 2008, and the reality of what it means to play on the professional circuit became clear to me in 2008, 9, because I was one of the best players in the country here, but I got
Yeah.
battered every single day for years after that, trying to stay on the professional tour. I think
Okay.
in my first year, I only won 3 matches in the
Okay.
entire year on the pro tour, and that time they had very few tournaments, so it was not a great system. Then
Mm.
uh, at that point, I dropped off the tour again in 2009. I wouldn't say that's a low because that's experience. You have to go through the whole
Yeah.
process of ups and downs. But so again, 2009, I go back to the Asian and get back to the final. Again, I turn pro. Again in 2010,
Yeah.
I drop off the pro tour because again my ranking was not up to it. So 2010-11, I have to sit a year out, and again
Mm.
2011, I go to the Asian, and again I get to the final, and I'm back on the pro tour.
Yeah.
So it was just this constant, and it's actually a great stat that in 4 years of me playing in the Asian Championships from 2008 to 2012, I
Yeah.
reached the final 3 times in 4 years, one quarterfinal and three
Okay.
finals, and I finally won my
Okay.
first one in 2012, my third
Mm.
attempt, and again that was against Pankaj in the finals. Both of us, we had
Okay.
we had both not won the Asian title since then. at that point. So it was going to be a first
Yeah.
Asian title for either one of us, and so that was a very like a great series of events. You know, you go through 4 years with the consistency and the best players in the continent coming at it all the time, and to keep getting to the finals
Yeah.
and keep knocking on the door. So I think that entire phase was great because playing on the pro tour means it just grew my confidence and confidence of winning. Maybe not because I was losing a lot, but I was learning so much from. You can imagine, when you play against people who are way superior than you all the time, it just ups your
Hmm.
level. Constantly
Yeah.
kind of raises your level, and then when you come back
Yeah.
over here, you kind of find it so easy. Like, okay, this game is very easy, or I can win so much easier. So that was a great
Okay.
time, and I think the lows were all later. Mainly, I think that 2007 was a huge moment, obviously, and then it was after this entire spell of mine, from all the way from 2011 up to 2014. Those 3 or 4 years were
Hmm.
the golden years of my life, as far as this game is concerned. I did everything that almost every great achievement of my life in snooker came in those 4 years, in 11 to
Okay.
14. And
Okay.
then came the big crash of the neck and the problems. It wasn't a major injury as such, but it was bad enough for me to have to change completely from the beginning all over again.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't think I've still recovered from that. 10 years now it's been, and
Okay.
I still don't know uh, what to do to go back to those golden years, because those were some great memories. No doubt, I've still had performances since then. Even
Yeah.
with all these issues with the neck and all that, I still managed to win a world title in the men's team event. To win um, the the nationals, I've won twice since then, and
Yeah.
Asian finals. We won a World Cup bronze. So all of this with
Yeah.
a busted neck. So honestly, I really can't have too much of a complaint at this point.
That's fair, and I believe this is the reality of the sporting world. Sometimes you have to live with an injury that will make sure that you're not going to be 100%, and
Hmm.
that is what I actually wanted to talk about as well. So, I've read up quite a bit about your injury and how you've had to pretty much carry it, like you said, for about 10 years now. And for a scenario like this, for an injury like this, which is obviously impacting you for close to 10 years now, does it take a toll mentally on the athlete as well in terms of the performance and overall as an individual?
Yeah, I think mentally for sure, because this is an entirely mental sport. It's after you reach a certain level, it's 80% in the head. No matter how good you are, it is the quality of your thoughts and your mind that kind of like play a direct role in how a match goes or how performance goes. And when what we've realized one thing over the years is that it may not be a physical sport, but physical problems can cause major lapses in concentration. And when you're always in pain, there's only so much that you can do via painkillers and things like, which I did a lot. Which is
Yeah.
one of my regrets, is that I went into the whole painkillers route because I didn't want to quit. So, anyways, these kind
Mm.
of small things that then affect your overall health and then deteriorate your quality uh, of your training and your performances even more. It's a very slippery slope when you try to solve
Yeah.
something like that. So it was no, it was very difficult mentally for sure, but we stuck in there. The saving grace, or at least what I believe is the only reason I stayed, was because I was trying to make a point to
Yeah.
myself, to the country, to every other player out there who had the same dreams as me at the time, but wasn't able to make that decision or the sacrifice to, or the opportunity wasn't there for him yet. But my whole idea was, if I don't go on, or who most people consider to be the best player in the country at that time. If I didn't push on and I didn't fight, then how would the next guy do it? How would a youngster consider that this was what he wanted to do? So in my head, it was like, you're not quitting. No matter
Yeah.
how bad things get, you will keep trying. You will keep trying to manage, and that kind of made it all a bit worse, in terms of the neck and the mind, the focus, everything. The pain and
Yeah.
the issues, daily issues, made it a lot worse. But we didn't talk about that. We don't
Yeah.
really go into the details, except for everyone did know that I had an issue and I was trying to deal with it. Even today, people just ask me, "Oh, how's the back? Or how's the neck?" I was like,
Yeah.
"It's bad. It's pretty bad, but we're doing whatever we can." Because nobody knows, really, because as snooker being a not being a physical sport, it's not something that you talk about all the time.
Yeah. I think this happens a lot with the snooker, shooting, and a lot of
Hmm.
sports where people think that it's खड़े तो रहना एक जगह, and it's
Hmm.
it's not the case. I'm sure your neck thing was also a lot down to the stance and all of it, if I'm not wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, 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 100%. So
So
I have a very awkward cue action. I've always had it since I was a kid, and my left shoulder was extremely close to my face, almost like my cue used to touch my left shoulder, my chin, my chest, my hand. It was very strenuous cue action, and it took a lot of toll on these muscles right here. And so when all of
mm,
this starts to, like, nowadays you see it a lot because of the phone and the laptop usage, but when
yeah.
all of this, shoulder area, back area starts to get affected, it's the spine that takes a big beating, which
Mm,
is the last thing that you realize. You think that
yeah.
thoda pain ho raha hai, something, this is happening, that is happening, what you don't realize is that you're doing damage to your spine, and the discs and the nerves, that every single nerve in your body is coming through the spine, and a lot of it is coming through the neck, and
Yeah.
those things can really cause havoc in your body.
So, from your very, very extensive, unfortunate experience over the last 10 years,
Hmm.
for any kid entering the sport, any kid getting into snooker or billiards or whatever, what do you think they need to be very, very careful about to avoid something like this, a situation like this?
Yeah, it's prevention is better than cure. You can prevent it. It's not
Exactly.
actually rocket
Exactly.
science. It's not a problem unless you let it become a problem. So
Okay.
my only thing for everybody, like I coach a few young kids as well, and I tell them quite simply that even today, you please speak to your physio, please speak to somebody,
Yeah.
and put yourself in a safe space, like in terms of
Yeah.
your back and your neck,
Yeah.
because if you wait for problems to start, then it's too late.
Yeah.
So don't let the problems come, and that is the only advice, and it's very simple. It's not that, our body is incredibly resourceful and strong,
Yeah.
but we abuse it too much, and then we expect it, to not get affected that much. So prevention, and I think you'll be fine.
Very, very fair. And I would also suggest for anybody getting into the Q sport side of things, do
Hmm.
not take it lightly. The physical part is also a very, very,
Yeah.
very important one. So do be careful. So, in your journey so far, sir, we've spoken about the lows. What were the, let's say, two highs that actually shaped not just you as an athlete, but you as an individual as well?
Uh, um, I think that they coincide very closely with the lows, because it's like when you come out of them and something great happens, it gives you a huge boost, and the highs are not necessarily like the greatest performances, but it's like those moments in your life that changed something. So that 2008, 6 months in 2008 of, going from stopping to play to becoming Asia number two. Only I know
Mm,
how much work I put in those 6 months, and
yeah,
the performances that came in those 6 months were, mind blowing. So that was a huge moment. That after almost, I think it was close to 10 to 15 years since India had a player on the professional circuit by then. And I think
Yeah.
Yasin Merchant was the last one in the mid 90s. So turning pro at that
Yeah.
point, 2008, was a huge moment for me, for the country as well, because again, we got some representation over there, where we were a forgotten country when it came to professional snooker. And uh,
Yeah.
now it's something that it's everybody knows. At that time, nobody knew and nobody even attempted. So me going there in 2008, making that, my that was my number one priority. Made that, so that was a
Yeah.
huge one for me, and I think for the country. And we are today where we are because few of us we took that road, which is extremely difficult, and at that time not even extremely rewarding. So it's a sacrifice that you kind of make for the greater good, let's say. But obviously with the intention that I'm going to succeed there, which was the
Yeah.
hope, and partially we did. And I think the second high was just before the crash, which is 2013 14, like the Indian Open final in 2013, reaching a professional event final, which no
Yeah.
Indian has ever done before and since. So that was a great one, and that to do it on your home soil, that was the first professional event, ranking event in India ever, and to get to
Okay.
the final of that was a huge thing. And followed it up, or sorry, not followed it up. 2 months before that, I went to the World Games in
Yeah.
Colombia, and I
Yeah.
won that one. And it was the first ever gold medal for India in any sport at the World Games. The previous one
Yeah.
was the only earlier medal was, I think, a bronze by Sir Prakash Padukone sir, and that was like 25 years before. So
Yeah.
uh, that that event not necessarily being the only high, the year of 2013 and 14. So that 2008 season, 2013-14 season. These were the two times of my life that made my career. 2013-14 specifically because of, like I said, World Games, Indian Open. I made my first career maximum break, which is a 147. I don't know if maybe you are aware or people are aware, but that's the maximum
Yeah.
break in
Slightly.
snooker, where you take
Yeah.
15 reds, 15 blacks, and all the colors. And the last person
Yeah.
in India to have done it was Geet Sethi in 1987, if I'm not wrong. So it had been 26 years since somebody had made it in a event, obviously in a tournament. So
Yeah.
I made my first maximum in 2013 as well. Went into 2014 as a top 50 player in the world. Again, the first Indian ever to reach the top 50 in the world on the professional tour. Still remains the only one to have ever reached the top 50. And 2014, I topped it off by making another maximum on the professional tour. So becoming the only Indian to make a maximum on the pro tour and the only Indian to have two maximum breaks. So
Yeah.
you can imagine that in those 2 years, and before that, I would say 2012 was when I won my Asian title. Eventually, after 4 years
Yeah.
of constantly reaching the final and then finally winning it.
Yeah.
And the sad part behind all of this is I was at the top of my game in 2014. The first event of the season was the Australian Open qualifier in June in 2014, and I lost
Okay.
in the final round to qualify. That would have been another huge moment for me, but I lost in the final round to qualify, and I was playing the best snooker of my life. This is the time where I've played the best. And 2 days after that tournament is when I collapse in my own house with, I don't know what it was at the time, but that was the beginning of all of it, which is still kind of plaguing me. And the funny thing
Okay.
is that the maximum actually came after that. So 2 months after this incident, I don't know how, I recovered a little bit and went on to make that second maximum break in Germany. So it was obvious I still had the game. It was just that I
Yeah.
had to play under circumstances that were not, very great for myself. And uh, even then, I would still always blame myself, in the sense that I was very hard on myself. If I was in pain, it was my mistake. If I lost, it was my mistake. And you know what it does to your mind, right? I mean,
Yeah.
things are going like that. It almost completely takes you off balance, and then after a while you just don't know what to think. You're in a foreign country. I lived there for 10 years.
Mm,
No family, no nothing, obviously,
yeah,
on my own, and obviously one of my friends was there as well. But after a while you have nobody to talk to
true.
and confide in and to get some help from. I eventually
Mm,
did get some help from a sports psychologist there as well, but I feel like the damage was done a little bit. And I still had some great performances after that. But if you see, the two most important phases are
yeah,
very closely connected to the two most difficult parts of my life. It just seems like it looks like stock market analysis.
yeah. But that is the sad reality of sport. Sometimes,
No, but it's great. It's great. That's how it should be, right? That's the fun part.
yeah,
If you were just going in a straight line, you know what that means. So
exactly, exactly. So, looking back, it's been almost, not almost, actually 20 years now, more than 20
mhm.
years. From when you first started, the reasons that you first started with, the mindset that you first started with, the goals, ambitions, dreams that you first started with, how fulfilled do you think you are today about everything that has happened over the last 20 years?
If I look back at what I expected, then I have surpassed it by miles and miles and miles, because I did not expect any of this.
Yeah,
But as you grow, and then when you achieve it, you
yeah.
f- it doesn't feel like it's enough. You always feel like, I could have done a little more. So even today, when I look back at my pro career, I'll be like, maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I should have done a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. But if I put it down, when I send people a CV, okay, I can't say that I'm Olympic medalist or this or that, or like, a lot of people have um, great CVs. But when I look at my CV and I see the things that I've done, which are first, uh, which I am the first person to have ever achieved,
Yeah.
and those things, when I see that, I feel a lot of joy, because there's something special about breaking barriers and pushing through at something that has not been done before, and you open that
Mm,
door. And the whole idea in that second half of my career, like let's say from 2014 onwards, was
mm,
don't give up, because
yeah.
people are watching not to see or to support you that you win or lose. That's different. But they're watching to see that it can be done. Like, you are
Yeah.
there, you can fight. If you can fight, then I can fight, and then more of us can fight. And then I feel like, apart from all the achievements till 2014, 15, the last 3, 4 years, it surviving there
Mm,
was one of my greatest achievements. In surviving there and not saying that I'm done and I'm giving up, it
okay.
gave India a few more years to catch up, and the
Mm,
youngsters a few more years to see that it can be done.
yeah.
And today there are two Indian youngsters on the professional tour who are
Yeah.
very great talents, and one of them is doing phenomenally well already. So hopefully, all I hope is that at some point people remember that I took that challenge head on, when nobody else took it, when nobody else could. I took it head on, and I may not have conquered it, but
Mm.
I definitely opened that path, that door. And hopefully I get some credit for that as well, apart from some of the performances and some of the achievements, which I am very proud of. And honestly, I could not have dreamt of all of this as a kid, for sure. And I've surpassed my wildest expectations.
I'm sure you will, sir. I'm sure the snooker community, more than anybody else, will definitely appreciate for a long, long time, because the trendsetters and the path illuminators, almost like we spoke about in the beginning, the path needs a
Mm.
lot of illumination still, but you were
Mm.
one of the first lights, and I'm sure the whole country thanks you for that. This was actually going to be my last question, that how
Mm.
do you want to be remembered, but we've already got an answer to that. And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't say this to a lot of people. I said this to, I think, Ritvik sir and Kormangi sir, I believe. but apart from that, I haven't said this to anybody. If at all you do go into that direction, I would love to read your book. Like, I would love to actually read your thoughts. I would love to actually know a lot more about your thoughts. I'm sure the country will. That would actually be
Mm.
a very, very helpful one.
Just
Just the
the
last
thought
couple
of
of
something
questions.
like that would scare me. So I don't know. I'm a very quiet person. I don't like to
I
speak too much.
understand. That's why I said. That's why I said. If you ever go in that direction, that would be
Yeah.
something that I would deeply appreciate. Honestly, just the last couple of questions, sir. I've already taken up a lot of your time. Um, what do you think you're chasing today? Not just snooker, life overall, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed in the last few years since COVID. Honestly,
Mm.
I completely lost my game. For a couple of years there, like I didn't play for a year and a half, obviously, because the clubs were shut and all that. It's been a hard thing to come back from for me
Yeah.
personally, professionally. Um, and then I got married a couple of years ago, so that changed life quite a bit. So I don't know. I mean, for the last few years, I've been a little confused about what exactly I want out of life,
Mm.
and that can happen. I think at certain moments in your life where you're not really sure. You
True.
gave so much of your life just to one thing, and now suddenly I'm a little confused because I was living only for myself for like 27 years in the sport, 25 years, so no, I kind of had a little bit of a moment there post my marriage and COVID and things like that. So now I think I'm back in the game. I really do appreciate being connected to something that I love, and it is still my career,
Yeah.
and I'm still good enough to win national and international medals. So that's something that I definitely will be continuing. I want to get
Mm.
into the whole training side of things, the coaching, which I'm already doing, but just in my own free private time, that
Right.
whatever I can do to help a few
Mm.
people that come my way.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to kind of explore that possibility because of the kind of career that I've had.
Mm.
I've seen the whole world. I've seen the whole world of snooker from grassroots all the way to the top, and includes Ronnie O'Sullivan. I've played matches with him. I've practiced with him. I've got into his head a little bit,
Okay.
and I've had the best coaches in the world while I was in the UK. So I have all that experience, all that knowledge, that unfortunately is crowding my brain too much, and I need to let it out. I need to
Okay.
share it so I can
Okay.
kind of um, not waste it. So
Yeah.
that's a goal maybe in the future. Like any sports person, I think it's a very natural
Yeah.
tendency to have to want to share, but you have to find the right platform, the right time. It's not as easy as just saying okay, I'll coach, and you get into it. I I'm still a while away from that, but for now I'm focusing on my game. In fact, I think I'm playing good. I'm playing a lot better than I have been for the last couple of years. So suddenly I feel a little more, you know, optimistic. I would like
Okay.
to continue, and a part of me, if possible, if my back and my neck agrees, and if my game is good enough, maybe wants to go pro again. But that's
Okay.
that's a long term, like I mean, in the sense not long term. That is something that I will have to decide in the next 6 months or a year if I want to try to turn
Okay.
pro again,
Okay.
which would be great. Um, and the rest of it is just simple. Parents are aging, gotta take care of them.
Yeah.
Finance is important, so got to take care of that. Family
Fair.
is important. Wife is important. Don't have kids yet, so I got one less problem so far. But apart from
Yeah.
that, we're gonna keep fighting. We're gonna keep, trying to do the best that we can in every department in life. And I've always told this to kids as well, and anyone you kind of have a conversation with is do not don't take it for granted all the other things. Your family, uh, finance, education,
Mm.
everything, it all is important. You train as
Exactly.
much as you want, you play as much as you want, but your education is important. Your family is
Awesome.
important. money is important, in the sense not to chase it, but to be smart about it.
Yeah,
These are small things that we don't learn from the traditional sources, and sometimes you just
yeah,
have to give somebody a little bit of a heads up that, listen, the best thing you can do is to stop people from making the mistakes you made. So
yeah,
that's one thing that I would, in terms of the injury, in terms of how to deal with life in on the pro tour, how to deal with this game, how, what are the mistakes that I made that maybe I could, if I could go back, I would change. So
yeah.
that's the plan. It's very simple. It's there's nothing complicated.
So one last question, sir. Normally, I ended with, look, okay, where is the Indian snooker scene and all, but I think we spoke about it
Hmm.
initially itself. Just one last question, in exactly one word, nothing else.
Hmm.
I know it's a lot of pressure. From your journey so far, any young kid listening to this, any young kid following you, what do you think that one characteristic should be that that kid should pick up?
Perseverance. You have to be able to just get up and go again and again and again and again and again. There's no there's no other way.
Fair, fair. Absolutely. And I think that's a fantastic note to end this very, very insightful conversation. To just, for anybody listening out there, not just somebody who's trying to get into snooker, not just trying somebody who's even trying to get into sport. I think just life. This conversation will
Yeah,
help you
it
guys a
is just
lot.
life. Sport is just life. You know,
Exactly,
it's a little more
exactly.
dramatic. It's just a little more dramatic. That's it.
This is something I've been saying for a really long time now, and now that the channel is here, I put it on the channel's tagline as well. That sport is the only truth. There's nothing else.
Wow.
There's
Yeah,
nothing else, and yeah, it'll teach you a lot. Aditya Sir's journey will teach you a lot. So
absolutely.
do follow
Yeah.
this and remember perseverance. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thanks.
much for
Thank you for
giving up
having
the
me.
time, and I hope to do this again soon in person next time at least.
Yeah, that would be great.